Welcome home all. Welcome to Supermex Nation on our Sunday wrap-up show. And again, for those of you guys that are regular guests and regular viewers, listeners, fans of the show, we have gone from a format to Fridays, Friday night. Friday night is cheap date night, and that is almost entirely TV, movies, and music. So arts and entertainment for the most part on the Friday night. And so I wanted to keep this day, in particular the Sunday, as the wrap-up for everything that goes on in the week, politically, at the national and international level, and then what's coming from and going into the following or the next week. And so that's kind of where we're at. And I found that a lot of the best material that you watch or that you listen to and information and take in information, call it news if you want, call it information, call it education. That's kind of my wheelhouse. That's where I'm at. Is usually done on the weekend after we've had time to kind of sit and digest everything. And let's face it, this week, like a lot of them lately, have been extremely jam-packed with information and news items, shock value items that we've been watching throughout the week. So much so that most of you kind of get tired of it, like, I've had enough, and you go listen to someone else. My job on the Sundays is going to be to make sense of all that mess, to synthesize it, analyze it, put it all together and give you back in a simple, concise form, really heavy material that you can understand and that you walk away knowing a little bit more. And as always, do not lie here. We tell the truth. We tell nothing but the truth. If I have an opinion or if I'm skewing, I'll let you know what it is. And then it's up to you to decide if it's good for you or not. But nothing I put out is untrue. There are no falsehoods. There are no lies. You won't hit me for 13,000 lies in my tenure. That does not happen here. All right. If I'm incorrect, it definitely won't be intentional. But if I'm incorrect, because nobody's infallible, if I'm incorrect, then I welcome you to go ahead and take the opportunity to correct me if I'm wrong about something. If I generalize, you'll understand why, because we can't have specific numbers, etc. We'll get into a little bit of that tonight. But the main item for the week, I think without question, and we did a show 2 weeks ago on the Ukraine and the Ukraine scandal. Wasn't exactly what I wanted, but it came out in essence pretty good. It was good meat and potatoes. You walked away knowing a little bit more than just watching cable news nonstop 24/7 and then just being bombarded and overblown with material and items. So tonight, and the topic of the show, we'll make sure we put it out I'll correct it a little bit later, but it's the seriousness of Syria and the decision we've made as a country, to leave that region of the world in force, meaning our soldiers on the ground, our troops, our material, and our manpower in Syria. So officially, we are now unilaterally pulling out and moving down the road. We'll get into that a little bit more down, in the body of the show, but we are moving out of entirely the Syrian area and the area that we were just recently, over the last number of years, really, fighting ISIS. So I want to get down to I want to make it simple for you. So most of you guys that have watched me, for those of you guys that are new or don't know me, I am prior service. I am infantry. I was 1st ID, 1st Infantry Division. And so my views skew toward military. I think that's, somewhat obvious for most of you guys that have been with me for a long time. But in this particular unique case, it does benefit you. I'm not some guy who's never served, who's never laced up the boots, who's never, used an M16A2 to take shots downrange. I am a guy who's strapped up, laced up, and used an M16. So in addition to that, everybody, or not everybody, but a lot in my family personally, and I've made a little bit of a point of that, so I don't do that to belabor the point other than to show you some form of knowledge or expertise in an area. In this particular case, it's about infantry and about soldiers on the ground preparing to fight for our country, whether you believe it or not, and for our principles, our freedoms, our national and our international interest. So I'm infantry. I am 3rd, my son is 4th, and I've got members of our family, my mom and dad's side now, going into our 5th generation of infantry and servicemen. And in addition to that, we have a lot of servicemen that are all over the place. We have Air Force, we have Marines, we have Navy, and I think we even have a few Coast Guard. So we've got all branches of service embodied in my family and service. So that's where my perspective is. So I want to front load you with that before we begin the conversation, because it does color how I view decisions made by a president, or any president for that matter, going back for a number now since I served and I had a commander-in-chief. There have been 4. So I view through that filter, a military, an infantry filter, decisions made by presidencies and administrations. So you've been forewarned. There's the caveat up front. But I think at this point, none of you that have consistently watched me will ever take me for somebody that doesn't care about country first. It is always that first for me. I swore an oath, and I continue to live that oath to the Constitution. Not an individual, not a president, not an individual politician or a party. It has always been an oath to country and an oath to my Constitution. So, having said that, this is where we're at. So what I want to give you is enlisted soldiers, as I was, not commanders, not flag officers, not officers that go to school, go to college, and then enter service. That's a different component. They are a smaller number, but they are the ones in command. They command the large number of troops. They're the ones making those decisions. I was enlisted. I did have a group. I was a squad leader. I had a squad of 9 to 10 guys, and I ran that. And if I would have stayed, it would have been a larger and larger. I could have been a platoon sergeant. I could have been a company first sergeant, etc. And you move up the rank. But the enlisted ultimately take orders from the officers. That's the way our military works. Okay, so you have that. Enlisted soldiers in the trenches do their jobs and follow orders. Let me be 100% crystal clear and explicit. Enlisted soldiers in the trenches, what I used to do their jobs and follow orders. However, it isn't like, and this is my personal experience to you because I'm giving you a little bit of my expertise, it isn't like we don't think about the reasons or consequences of our service in our time in uniform. Some people mistakenly believe that we serve and while we're in, we just follow orders and we're automatons and we just do whatever we're told. Ladies and gentlemen, we absolutely do follow orders and do what we're told. But we have opinions and we do think, believe it or not. Scary concept, yes? But we do think. We talk when our platoon leader or commanders are not around, and we do question what the hell we are doing and why. We do question. We don't act on those questions, but we're free to question. Yes, we're humans. 3 of the 4, and I'm going to bring this up as a relevant point to what we're doing in Syria here. 3 of the 4 9/11 pilots, this is an interesting sidebar, I learned this week. 3 of the 4 9/11 pilots were recruited and radicalized in Germany by Mohammed Zammar. Mohammed Zammar was in an ISIS detention camp, and now he is free. Nobody knows where. He's gone. Why am I bringing that up? 9/11 was a long time ago. You're absolutely right, it was a long time ago. But some of the people that committed that act that we never got to, that we never ended, are still free and still free to commit crime or to commit acts of atrocity or terrorism on others, including us, if we're not careful. I'm bringing that up because Mohammed Zammar was in one of the ISIS detention camps located in Syria, in the northeastern portion of Syria, that we, along with our Kurdish and other allies, were controlling, managing, and keeping tamped down. That's gone now. So let's get in the meat and potatoes now that I've given you that hard piece of meat there to chew on. Not good, right? I think we can all generally agree on that. You may not want to agree with it because you're going to find a rationale to say, oh, that doesn't sound good, but I can't disagree with everything the president says, so I have to be against it. If you're doing that, you better start questioning what you're doing because you're entirely partisan or entirely cult of personality. Because I have friends that are Republicans that are not okay with that. I have friends that are conservatives that are not okay with that. I have friends that are really hard right that are definitely not okay with that. And therein lies the issue. So, what has happened is roughly about a week ago, the president tweeted out that we were pulling out of, unilaterally and uniformly pulling out of Syria entirely. Now, so let's put this on record. For those of you guys out there that you don't believe in the endless war concept, and that's been your mantra, and the president campaigned on that and said we're going to end endless wars. For the record, I'm not against saying, okay, let's end some endless wars. Absolutely. But at what point do you say, let's just get out of everything? Because therein lies the problem. Therein lies the problem. And those are the problems we're dealing with now. So I don't have an issue with us moving out or getting out of Syria. I definitely have an issue the way it was done and the way it was conducted. Why? Because I'm an infantryman. And there are people on the ground that suffer the consequences of poor decisions at the top. Those of you guys that are vets, soldiers, enlisted, Marines or Army infantry, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm trying to share that with our civilian brotherhood. When those decisions are made and we at the ground, on the ground, are compromised and placed in danger because of a political decision, you place our soldiers and you place our troops in danger. Unnecessarily. Unnecessarily. Here's the biggest main issue we had with the decision itself. He did not consult with or use the chain of command that he sits at the top of, did not use that chain of command, inform his generals, inform his commanders back from the president to the Joint Chiefs of Staff, to the Secretary of the Army, etc., all the way down to the company commander, the platoon sergeant, the platoon leader, the squad leader in the trenches. They didn't know until a tweet popped out and they found out overnight, and now they're up. Here's the issue on the ground with those soldiers. The people that those soldiers were fighting with, Kurds, an ethnic group in the region, and others. It's not just Kurds, by the way. I'll give you this as an interesting sidebar for expertise. My son was in the 82nd Airborne a little over 3 years ago, and he served in Iraq. Moving to Syria, he didn't go himself, but he trained Iraqis and others. He trained them on our weapon systems, on our techniques, our tactics, and our strategies, and he sent them up the road to go fight ISIS in Syria. That's what he did. Our soldiers train other soldiers to go fight for themselves, and be clear here, and to fight for us, ladies and gentlemen. Those groups, Iraqis, Kurds, and others, have been fighting ISIS for us. So let's make sure we debunk lies and untruths. The president said that we defeated ISIS. Be clear. We unilaterally, by ourselves, did not defeat ISIS. Now, I'm a soldier, and I'm about as red-blooded patriot American as you're going to get. We, by ourselves, unilaterally and singly, did not defeat ISIS. We trained, we helped strategize, we put people in positions to go and fight ISIS for us and shrink that geographic caliphate that they had down to almost nothing, that small region along the northern border with Syria and Turkey. So, be clear, we, and definitely not the president, didn't defeat ISIS. And I'm going to make sure we're 100% clear about that, because soldiers know what I'm talking about. Americans, you should know what I'm talking about. A president doesn't go out there and fight anymore. When's the last time that happened? Exactly. Presidents don't go fight. They hopefully make good decisions, putting our people in position to fight successfully so we can win whatever combat we're in. But I want to be 100% clear. Now, I don't know any Kurdish brothers, maybe in this area or any other. I maybe have met some over time, but I don't have any. I don't have a dog in that fight. What I do have a dog in the fight for is the fact that we have soldiers on the ground there that these people were allied with. And all the chatter I've seen in other forums, not just on YouTube, but some other chat rooms and other boxes, there are special operators and troops that were in Syria that are hurt and ashamed that they had to retreat and leave their allies behind. People they've fought with, people that they've bled with, and people that fought for us. They've bled for this country and to fight ISIS. And we've just left them. We just cut them. That is the primary issue that an infantry soldier, a soldier on the ground, a troop in location, in region, not the people making the decisions, not a president, not a Joint Chiefs Commander, and maybe they do understand that, but I'm talking about soldiers on the ground fighting, training people to go die. That is what they're dealing with, and that is what their problem is with this decision right now. Okay, so let's be 100% clear. Am I for wars all over the globe? Hell no. That's just dumb. But am I for pulling out from wars all over the globe? Hell no. That's just dumb. Therein lies the conundrum, yes? You get the point. So, I'm going to show you something that when I saw it, just cut me to the bone. And my first thought was, I feel for those troops that are in Syria right now when this decision was made. That night, in the middle of the night, when that decision was made, my heart and my prayers and my strength went to those soldiers that are on the ground, those army and those other combat forces that are in location in Syria, going back to when the decision was made. My heart bled for them because I knew exactly what they felt. It hurt. It had to have hurt them that they are leaving the people that they have fought and bled with for 4 or 5 years. And they're leaving them to themselves. They're leaving them to die because that's already going on. So let's do this. I'm going to show you something that I've not had to see in my lifetime as a soldier and as a veteran. I've never seen this. Let's go ahead and pull that first one up, KP. That is the images, a video of what took place when the decision was made to pull out unilaterally from Syria. And why is it bothering me? Because I have never seen a United States force retreat. Now be careful and be cautious and be clear. I said retreat. I said retreat. I didn't say pull out. I said retreat. Because to the guys that are there in those vehicles leaving, when that happened, this was going back this past week, when that happened, ladies and gentlemen, civilian world, they're not pulling out. They're telling you they're retreating. That's the United States of America. Flags flying as we leave the combat zone. Civilians, nothing but love for you, but you cannot understand what those young guys and gals are feeling right now for retreating. It is a demoralizing force to the force, our military. It begins to erode, it begins to fray the edges of our strength, our conviction, our belief in mission, our belief in operation, our belief in our principles. Loyalty, trust, all those good things that we like to talk about, that we say we teach our kids, but we really don't. That's it. Loyalty, trust, allies. We just compromised all that. That is compromised, and I'll argue that with anybody. I don't give a damn if you're vet or non-vet. I don't give a damn if you're a hardcore Trumper or anti-Trump. It doesn't matter to me. This isn't a left or right issue. This is an American value issue. We compromised those people. We compromised their belief and our principles as a nation and as a force, as a country. That was the scene as the decision was made. fast forward a little bit because it's been going really, really fast. It's gone real quick. The only good part of it, if there is a good part, is that uniformly and in conjunction, we've actually had bipartisan, I'll go a step further and say nonpartisan, but definitely within the context of the Congress, the House of Representatives and the United States Senate. We have had bipartisan, and in some ways with a lot of the veterans that are in the House and the Senate, nonpartisan, because this is not a partisan issue for us. A nonpartisan consensus and agreement that at the very least, the way it was done was wrong and stupid. That's the agreement. And the House passed a resolution with overwhelming support, even by Republicans. And when do they get along with anything nowadays, right? House Democrats and House Republicans, there were about 50 or 60 holdouts total out of 435. It's about damn time we get some consensus and some agreement from both Democrats and Republicans working together, agreeing on something. Damn it, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. They uniformly agreed that this was not a good decision. If not, the decision to leave the Middle East or get the hell out, and we'll get to that in a second, but it was the way it was done in the middle of the night by tweet, compromising our troops on the ground in the area, not listening to your senior commanders, not listening to men, at least in the Joint Chiefs, that have done this thing, this military thing, this force thing that we all say we love as Americans. We love our soldiers, we love our troops, we love our veterans. Then damn it, listen to them on the items that they are trained for. Listen to them in the area and the profession that they have served for. I have personally never tried to lord it over somebody else because I served and somebody else did not. But be damn sure that I would expect you not try to jump into my business in an area you know nothing about. Hell, I don't even know what those guys are dealing with. But I know it can't be good, and I know they were compromised. That was the decision. So that is us leaving. They tried to clean it up. The administration tried to clean it up by sending Mike Pence and Pompeo to Erdogan, the Turkish president, to try to negotiate some type of ceasefire or truce. And officially they did. Here's the second problem, and there are a whole lot of problems with this. I'll be here all night, and I'm going to have to be careful right now as I'm going because I don't want to be here all night because these things get hard and you don't want to listen too much. I got to make it more concise. My apologies up front. I do that on air because I'm honest. Erdogan sat down with Pompeo and Pence, the vice president and the secretary of state. Short of the president, those are the two most powerful people that we have in dealing with these things. They agreed to, or negotiated, supposedly, a ceasefire truce. They negotiated that. They came back and left. It was supposed to be for 5 days, ceasefire and truce, so that the United States could leave with no danger to our people. We'll get to that in a second. No danger to our people. And that so the Kurds can leave too. From the area they live in, by the way. From their homes. Get to that in a second. There's too much to unpack. Within 24 hours, there was no ceasefire. They didn't even honor the damn paper it was written on. Why is that important? Because if the United States negotiates a ceasefire, truce, peace treaty, whatever the hell you want to call it, and the other party, in this case, Turkey, does not honor it, what does that tell you? Ultimately and utterly, it is a lack of respect, and they don't give a damn about what we want. That's a problem. Second video, watch this one.
In Syria, Kurdish forces are accusing Turkey of failing to abide by the terms of the U.S. brokered ceasefire, and its leaders are calling on Vice President Mike Pence to take responsibility for its enforcement. It comes as Russian leaders reportedly huddled in Syria today to discuss de-escalating tensions in the region. Holly Williams is near the Syrian border in Turkey.
Good morning. The United Nations said the border between eastern Syria and Turkey was mostly calm yesterday, but there are reports of violations of the ceasefire by both sides. 14 civilians were killed by Turkish-led airstrikes and mortar fire, according to a Syrian monitoring group. 200,000 civilians have reportedly fled the area in recent days, and Turkish-backed militants have been accused of atrocities against Syrian civilians. The US effectively opened the door to this Turkish incursion into Syria last week, when President Trump announced that US troops would be pulling back from the border region. US forces, numbering around 1,000, are now in the process of withdrawing entirely from eastern Syria. That decision is a betrayal of the Syrian Kurds, according to many, both in Syria and in the US, including Republican members of Congress. A Kurdish-dominated militia group has been America's closest partner on the ground in Syria in the fight against ISIS, and now they are the targets of Turkey's assault. Turkey views the Kurdish group that partnered with the US as a terrorist organization. President Trump called the ceasefire agreement a, quote, great day for civilization. But the US withdrawal could ultimately benefit the Syrian regime and its allies, Russia and Iran. If the ceasefire breaks down, there are also fears for accused ISIS fighters being held by the Kurds. We were given exclusive access to one of their prisons last month. They say they're holding around 12,000 former ISIS fighters, including 4,500 foreigners. The nightmare scenario is that with renewed fighting, the Kurdish group will no longer have the resources to properly secure the prisons, and there could be a mass escape of ISIS fighters. Dana.
Holly, thank you very much.
Thank you. So I wanted to show that clip, and again, there are plenty of others. I kind of went through the ones that I felt were apropos, most appropriate for the topic or what I was saying in specific. But I actually heard somebody in a chat room, or saw somebody in a chat room say that everything you see is not true, that none of this is true, that there is a ceasefire, and that Turkey is not killing Kurds and not raining hell and damnation all over that region, that it's not really happening. It's just some excuse or some attempt by lamestream media to make you think we are. Ladies and gentlemen, it's about time you woke the hell up. You woke the hell up. Just because you say something doesn't mean it's true, because people are out right now lying to you directly. I've actually seen video footage done with the phone, because you can take a phone anywhere, right? I think we all know that. Video footage, not from any major news outlet, not from any whatever, but from actual people on the ground being slaughtered right now in that region of Syria. Kurds, our allies, the people that fought and bled for us. I want to reiterate that, ladies and gentlemen, because that's America to me. That is America to me. These people fought for us and for themselves, because it's their home. But by extension, they fought for us, were trained by us, trained with our best people, some of our very best soldiers, our best fighting men and women, some of the best special operators, special forces in the region. They fought and bled with and for our people, for us, because let's put it on the table now. This isn't some skirmish border war. This was a fight against ISIS. You remember them? Islamic State in Syria, Islamic State in the Levant, ISIS. This is the terrorist organization that would do nothing but wipe us the hell off the face of the earth, if they could. And we had them on the ropes. We have almost squashed them out. Not entirely, because you're not going to get rid of them entirely, but severely handicapped and held them to that small little region. And in the process helped allies fight for themselves and fight for their freedom, because the Kurds really want nothing more than to have a homeland and freedom. Does that sound familiar? America? Does that sound familiar to you? I would hope it does. They fought for their homeland, and they're fighting for their freedom. Do you remember when we used to do that? Do you remember when we used to help people fight for freedom? Do you remember that? I do. I do. And I won't forget it until I'm in a box and gone. And it's my job to make sure that you do and that the kids that we have coming also do. So what you just watched there was a concerted attack on that region by Turkey, even after they agreed with the United States of America to a ceasefire. And they turned around within 24 hours before the damn ink was even dry on the parchment. And they attacked after they agreed with us to ceasefire. Point being, the treaty and the words were not worth the paper that it was written on, because Turkey has no damn respect for who we are. Because if they did, they would have waited 5 days and they wouldn't have done anything, because they fear the United States. See where this is going? I just laid that in there and I hope you got it. Does Turkey fear the United States? Let me help you out, America. No, they don't. Because if they did, they wouldn't have continued their attack after they agreed with us that they wouldn't. Therein lies the meat and potatoes. Not, oh, we're going to end all the endless wars. Go ahead, do it. But in the meantime, we're losing ground. We're losing credibility. We're losing fear. You heard what I said. We are losing the capability of instilling. And some of my friends on the hard left are not going to like what I say next. We are losing the capability of instilling fear in our enemies and people that would do us wrong or disagree with us. I believe in that. And if that's too far left or too far right, I really don't give a damn. But 243 years after our little experiment began, it's still important that our enemies fear us. And those who might be enemies also fear us. And that our allies respect us. That our allies trust us. All of the above. ISIS will reconstitute itself in other forms, asymmetrically and in traditional fashion. It may not be a piece of land that they're carving out, but they will reconstitute. I mentioned at the top of the hour, Mohammed Zamar. He trained 3 of the 4 9/11 pilots that attacked us and that slaughtered our people on 9/11. That guy's free now, ladies and gentlemen. That guy is free because of this decision. Argue with me all you want, but it's a fact. And as my homeboy John Adams said, facts, ladies and gentlemen, are really, really stubborn things. American soldiers don't retreat. We don't tuck tail and run. Unless the cowardice of their leadership orders them to do so. Remember that statement. American forces in Syria retreated and were fired upon in that retreat. So as we ran, they were still shooting at us. A lot of respect there. Giving the enemy a belief that we are no longer the America of our forefathers. That we no longer have the strength and courage that have been our hallmark on the battlefield for over 243 years. Consider that. You might want to rewind that because that one's heavy. Some of you may not like it, but it's true. It's a fact now. Fact pattern. It has happened. We are living it right now. As of the 15th, this was as I was taking notes all this week, as of the 15th, our troops were trapped in Syria because Turkey had blocked the roads out of Syria. We couldn't even go south and west back to Iraq. Both Syria and now Turkey are moving and solidly with, here you go, Russia. They're now negotiating with Russia, not us. Russia now has more allies in the region, and strategically, Russia will now have a region, a location, and a land bridge, access through the Caucasus, down from Central and Eastern Asia, severe Eastern Europe, down into the Caucasus, the Transcaucasus, and the Mediterranean region. They now have access with allies there. Turkey, be clear, in addition to what was done, Americans actually had to, within the first 2 days, Americans had to scramble fighters We actually had to scramble fighters, our jets, 15s, 22s, had to scramble fighters to ward off Turkish-backed militias from attacking Americans and Kurds at Kobani, which was our main base. That happened. We actually had to scramble fighters to get these people back because our people on the ground were getting shot at and attacked. But they're allies, right? I think we know where that goes. In addition, I mentioned the R word. Russians are now occupying bases and areas that only a day or two earlier had been U.S. and allied. They just took our lunch. Literally. I showed a video and some guy laughed about it, said, oh, just let them have our stuff. When did we become that United States? Where it's okay for the Russians to come in and eat our lunch? I mean, literally. Literally. The Russians came in, took our bases because we had to run out, and ate our lunch. Took our Cokes out of the fridge and laughed about it. And laughed about it. Damn it, I'm a Cold War vet. That didn't sit well with me. And those of you guys that don't know what that is, and those of you guys that don't care, then you definitely don't want to listen to me. When Brother Russia is over there laughing about what they're doing to us and how they're doing it without even firing a shot, that's a problem. Why did I bother, sir, right? Is it just because all my family does and we've been generations deep in loving this country and fighting for this country and its principles? You're compromising me now. Negotiated ceasefire was a joke because they broke it within 24 hours. And what did we do in return? Nothing. We did nothing. We negotiated a ceasefire. I'm going to give you some specific facts to this negotiation that Pompeo and Pence agreed to with Erdogan. Somebody said, well, we win all the time. Yeah, what did we win? We won nothing other than watching our troops retreat. We got nothing out of this deal. Knows how to make a deal, right? The art of the deal. You know, if we keep going at this rate with this art of the deal stuff, we're not going to have much left other than our own little place. We'll build a wall around it and hide behind it while the others get big all over the globe. The deal we negotiated, not only did it give us nothing, it gave the Syrians not much. It gave the Turks a lot. They just got a piece of land. Sound like Crimea? Sound like the Donbas region in Ukraine? This is pre-World War I, late 19th century, early 20th century, sphere of influence, foreign policy, where we bury our heads in the sand and say, leave us alone, we're going to do our thing, you guys go ahead and do your thing. This is how this works, ladies and gentlemen. Know your damn history. This is what we're dealing with right now. People, specific people, world leaders, strongmen, I don't even like the damn term, strongmen are carving up chunks of this planet right now. And they're taking what they want while we sit and watch. And in this case, we help them. We're like, what are you talking about, Supermex? I'm going to tell you what I'm talking about. In this negotiated ceasefire, you know what we agreed to? We agreed to run and pull our people out, have them retreat in the middle of the night. And we gave Turkey the land that belongs to the Kurds, our allies. So not only did we leave and run and leave our allies that have fought and bled with us against ISIS, our enemy, and if you don't think it is, grow up. Not only did we leave them behind, but we, the United States, agreed to give their land to Turkey. You heard what I said. Research it. It's all there. It's all fact. Unless you don't believe in my type of lamestream media. It's a fact. We agreed with Turkey to give the homeland and the province, the territory, the area of land that the Kurds have lived in for thousands of years. We just agreed to give that to Turkey for them. So not only did we punk them, betray them, give them up to be slaughtered to the Turks and Syrians, and Russia, because they're in now. They're there now. Not only did we do all that nasty, ugly, anti-American, un-American conduct, but we also gave Turkey their land. Let me do this. Run back a little bit, maybe about a little less than 100 years. Neville Chamberlain in the White House. If you know your history, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you don't, look it up. Educate yourself. Watch my show and make yourself a little bit smarter than you were the day before. Neville Chamberlain in the White House right now. That just happened. The underlying and really one of the main points here as I finish up, thank you for being with me. I'm trying to get this under an hour because I want you to have hard material, factual material, gravity moving material, seriousness in material. The underlying and main point is that we had ISIS on the ropes and we've released pressure. Now we don't know what's coming, but I can tell you this much. ISIS will reconstitute itself. I've already specified, and I just got that one this week. Mohammed Zamar, the trainer of 3 of the 9/11 pilots that killed our people, is now free. He's free. He's out. And there are others like him. I don't even know them all. We're going to find out, though. I'm hoping, and you have me on record, I'm hoping to high hell that this doesn't come back to bite us in the keister. I really, really do. I mean that 100%. But I'd be lying to you, and I do not lie, if I told you that it's not going to happen or that we're not in any danger. The world and civilization, counter to what the president has said on air, because he lies, and I'll just say it directly, he lies all the damn time. If you had to make a decision on life and death based on telling the truth, would you trust me or the president? That's easy. That's easy. He lied. Civilization is not better off for it. We've just opened an ugly Pandora's box that we kind of had closed. We were about ready to shut it, had it bottled up, had it ready to go, had it ready to be done. And we just let it go. We just let it go. It's all done now. And the consequences, I shudder to consider because I have no idea, and I don't think anybody really does, what can happen because of it now. But make no mistake, there is absolutely no doubt in my mind that something not good is going to come from this. At least on the side of the simplest for you to understand civilian world, ISIS now will begin to reform, reconstitute. And here we go again. Because that's one thing a lot of you in America like to say, oh, Islamic extremism is bad. It is. Let me help you out. It is. So why do you want to help it grow again? I don't. You don't. You better start questioning your leadership. You better start questioning your damn leadership. One of the single stupidest military decisions I've seen in my entire life. And this goes back to the Iraq War, because I wasn't for that mess. I didn't believe there were weapons of mass destruction. I said it. This is going to be pretty bad. You're going to find out. Hopefully not too bad, I hope, but I don't see any way around it. ISIS will reconstitute. ISIS will reform. If you don't want to believe that, then you keep drinking the Kool-Aid and you keep believing everything you're told, even when he's lying to you. I don't lie. Lastly, the president, as of right now, still has a visit planned for President Erdogan. You heard what I said. He's still planning on a White House visit, a thing of value, because White House visits cost tens of thousands of dollars. He's still going to have the president of Turkey, who we just signed a ceasefire with, and they shredded it before 24 hours were done and attacked anyway. And he's going to invite him to our White House. By the way, it's not his White House. That's our White House. We pay for it. That's not a president's White House. That is our White House. And you're going to have this guy coming to hang out, drink, eat on our dime while they've placed our people in danger in Syria. And as of right now, for the record, I still don't even know, and I know you don't either. I don't even know if all of our people are out. legitimately. We do not even know. They're saying they were. They're saying they kind of are. I don't even know that. Until somebody goes on air, and I don't trust the White House anymore because they lie all the damn time. Until somebody can go on legitimately and tell me that 100% of our personnel are gone and now in Iraq or Saudi Arabia. There's your laugh. Until that happens, I'm concerned for the people that we've left behind, that we left compromised in Syria. A few things to consider before we finish here. The biggest argument that I've received from people that are 100% for Donald Trump because they feel they have to be, listen, I've never told you not to vote a certain way. I've never told you to vote a certain way. What I've told you is to ask questions. What I've told you is to find facts. What I've told you is to be honest with yourselves. And what I've said unilaterally, uniformly, my entire life, including in the format that we are now on the show, always question leadership. Always question leadership. Because if they're wrong and you're not questioning, we've got a problem. And you're sorry. You're not a real American. Because real Americans question leadership. Ask our founders about questioning leadership, about questioning government. We exist under the umbrella of freedom that they provided, quite literally because they chose to question leadership. It is the single most American thing you can do as an American, is question leadership and bad judgment. If you do question leadership, make sure it's factual, it's legitimate, and it's honest. And it comes from a place that is beneficial to this country and its people. That's a good method to go by. It really is. The point was to end endless wars. The president is going to pull us out of everything. And that was his campaign promise. So factually, I understand that concept. I don't even disagree with we should be in certain areas and we should not be in others. I don't believe that we should just get out of the whole damn planet and hide behind a wall in America. I definitely don't believe that. If that makes me warmonger or too hard right, then so be it. I had warned you at the top of the hour, that is my background. I believe in fighting for my country. I believe in fighting for our principles. I believe in fighting for democracy. And whether you want to admit it or not, it still is about freedom isn't free. It comes at a cost. A cost that guys like me and others like me are willing to pay, even if you won't. All I'm asking is that you allow us to pay the cost. Get out of the way. Let us pay the bill for you. That's not bad. But if that really is the mantra and that's really the belief, then why the hell did we just send 3,000 soldiers to Saudi Arabia? And don't tell me it's because they're paying. Because all that means is we've been pimped out. You heard what I said. All that means is that we have been pimped out to Saudi Arabia. And we're sending the ones in Syria back to Iraq. Bring the soldiers home? A little inconsistent. Find argument, find a reason to disagree, go ahead. But you'll bring discredit to yourself. Because those soldiers that were in Syria, they're not coming home. They're going to Iraq now. And 3,000 of their brothers and sisters are now going to Saudi Arabia. So if the reality TV is, bring all our soldiers home, get out of wars, yeah, I think that kind of flies in the face of reason, and more importantly, it flies in the face of truth. It's a lie. Because we're still doing it. I'm just calling out the lie. That's what it boils down to. Do we want no war at all? That's ultimately the question that I think I'm asking you today, that you have to wrestle with, that you have to consider. What happens if we say openly that we will end all wars? Serious consideration. It might sound good on the surface, but consider this. Again, bear in mind from the top of the hour, my filter, my thought. The result is our enemies will believe us. as President Erdogan and the others have figured out. Think about that. You want to know why President Erdogan spit on the ceasefire treaty he signed with the United States and continued to conduct operations and combat even after we signed a treaty for a truce of 5 days? You want to know why? Because he's figured out that a president that has stated openly that he will get out of all wars means that he will not fight. And no matter how much you look into the camera and say, I will rain down terror and destruction. See that? It's just talk. Now, we're in a dangerous place here, but it's a serious place. If we have foreign countries, dictators, autocrats, strongmen with militaries all over the planet, and they don't believe that we no longer have the strength and resolve to stand up and fight, and we'd rather run and cut and leave, we've got a problem, ladies and gentlemen. You don't even have to like what I said, but I'm going to say it. Walk softly and carry a big stick. The big stick is not just to sit there. Every once in a while, you have to use that stick. And if the other person doesn't believe you'll use it, you know what they're going to do? Well, they'll sign a treaty with you and spit on it and go do what they say they weren't going to do anyway. How do I know that is true? Because it was just done to us not even a week ago. That's where we are right now. Sidebar. You want to know why you don't hear anything about Venezuela anymore? Maduro and Guaido? Sidebar. We don't talk about Venezuela anymore, regime change and all this other business, right? Oh, we don't do regime change. You want to know why we're not in Venezuela or being involved in Venezuela or trying to make sure that the democratically elected leader is actually in place, not the dictator that was there that he beat? Is because Russia is already there. Russia is involved with Venezuela. We're too damn afraid anymore. I shudder to think what Kennedy would have done. I can tell you this much. He wouldn't have sat there and said, hey, go ahead and put nuclear missiles in Cuba. We don't give a damn. You heard what I said. Speaking of which, I'm getting too much sidebar because I'm wrapping up. Did some of you even know that we now have roughly in the neighborhood of 50 tactical nuclear weapons at Incirlik Air Base in, wait for it, Turkey? That is a truism. Fact. We have 50 tactical nukes. If I'm wrong off 1 or 2 or 5, let me know. But roughly 50 tactical nuclear weapons, warheads, in Turkey. And the running joke is the State Department is not talking about it because they don't want to acknowledge that they don't know how they're going to get them out of Turkey. Our tactical nukes are now hostage to a country that disrespects us openly and laughed and spit on our ceasefire agreement. Yeah, real good foreign policy, right? As of right now, and after nearly 3 years of watching and knowing U.S. history, this will be, quote the Raven, I want somebody to come back 5 and 10 years from now and watch this. This is already one of the worst foreign policies. Notice how I didn't say foreign policy decision. One of the worst foreign policies of my lifetime, if not our entire 243-year history. The damage that we have done, the damage this president has done to our force is incalculable at the base already. And it's incalculable because 90-something% of this population is civilian, not military. So it's unknown, unforeseen, unthought of. But I'm telling you right now, there are special operators, special forces that are just left Syria, hopefully all of them. Ladies and gentlemen, they will get engaged when they're done. I hope those young bloods do. And if some of you are not careful, if you're on the Republican side, they may not be Republicans anymore. A lot of veterans, a lot of us are Republicans because we're conservative on military values. I have friends right now that are becoming Democrat because the Republican Party is no longer the party of strong foreign policy. It is a snowflake foreign policy. Hashtag candy ass in chief. You heard it here. It's on my Twitter. I'm going to continue to put it out. When weak people lead, this country suffers. And we've seen some weak people. But this foreign policy, we are in a load of danger. Phony bravado, bravery, tough guy mentality espoused by what you see now, not just because they don't know the true meaning of service to country, because they've never done it, but because they don't know and still preserve or press aggressively in spite of it. Phony bravado. Those of you in service, you know what I'm talking about. Those of you guys that are infantry, you know what I'm talking. The phony brave. Real quick to start a fight, but couldn't bust a grape in a fruit fight. This hurts others around and in that apparatus, and no personal toll can be taken because politicians, presidents can just move on and all too frequently just blame someone else, change the news cycle, and they don't have the strength necessary to just blow it over, something else to move up away from a mistake or a stupid decision. We're in a tough spot. This is my wrap for you. We're in a tough spot. We need to stay focused as Americans on the things that matter the most. Don't just follow the shiny object. Don't just believe everything you see on news. Hell, you know what? Don't believe me. Question me. Find out if what I've said tonight is true. I'm asking you to. I've done this before. You know what I do for those of you guys that are my loyal followers. I challenge you to question my material, my facts, my beliefs. Because I know intellectually that in the process of doing so, you will make yourself smarter, wiser, and you know what? When you're done, I'm going to sit nice and comfortable because everything that I've told you is true. And then when you go research and fact find on me, you're going to come back and want to come back even harder because I told you the truth and I didn't lie to you. That's why you'll keep coming back. So listen, it's Sunday night. I won't apologize. I will thank you for being here with me on an evening. I'm going to continue to do the Sundays. It's a good wrap up and it's a good wrap into the week for what's coming. This isn't going away. Keep your eye not on the shiny object, but on the meat and potatoes of what was done and what this means going forward. On the record, our foreign policy is weak. It is weak right now. And to other people on this planet, leaders, dictators, autocrats, they're literally licking their chops as to what they're going to be able to get away with when the country that used to fight tooth and nail for democracy and freedom no longer fights for democracy and freedom. There's your problem. Sunday night, thank you for being here. Go back, watch again, fact check me. If not on here, you could send me direct messages. One thing that I've definitely found out, and this is my last thought for you. One thing I've definitely found out, and maybe I'm behind the times because I'm an old dog, Facebook is an inadequate vehicle to convey complex thought, material, and issue. It really is. Because when you lay down facts, you know what the other person will do? Ignore it, and they just blast their mantra out over and over and over again. But one thing I did get from Facebook, and it was a good point, I actually had an American, more than one, tell me directly that their first loyalty is to a president, not the Constitution. You heard what I said. That's a fact. You know where I'm at. I swore an oath to the Constitution. I started the show with that. I'll end it with that. My oath is to a Constitution. I don't give two shakes of a shit about any president other than them doing their damn job and making this country better, stronger, and safer going forward and making sure that we are still the top dog on this planet 100 years from now. That's what I care about. My loyalty will never be to party, person, president. My loyalty is to the Constitution. My loyalty is to this country and the principles upon which it was founded. I'll begin and end there. The Alpha and the Omega. That is where I stand. I hope you stand with me. I hope you do. Lastly, question. Just question everything. Our founding fathers ask you from their graves as they roll over and do a jig, ask you to question. Don't be sheep. They weren't. They were strong. and they questioned. I'm asking you to do the same thing. There's Supermex Nation. We're going to make this one Supermex International, actually, for the Sunday nights because it's going to be primarily national and foreign policy. But that is our show for tonight. I've got nothing but love for you guys. Thank you again for being here on the Sunday. Go question, go fact check, do what you got to do, but make yourself a little bit smarter. And definitely, if you really love our troops, go question. Find out more information about what's really going on. Nothing but love for you guys. I'll see you this coming week. Supermex is out.